Okay. And good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Lewandowski from the New Jersey State Library. And welcome back, Teresa from Northstar. So like I said, this is being recorded and it will be shared after. And we have a user group for New Jersey libraries with Northstar licenses that meets on the third Thursday of every month at 2 p.m. So I will put information about that into the chat. I'll also put the link for yesterday's recording into the chat. And for those of you listening to the recording, that information will also be available on the New Jersey State Library's website. Are there any questions before we begin? All right, then I'll let you take it away, Teresa.
Right. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to let you know that my dog has taken to joining me in trainings and will sometimes start groaning, as I think she's trying to contribute. But if you hear some groaning in the background, that's the dog going on. So today we are going to talk about Northstar, not that. And how to do a bunch of the different tasks that you may want to do in, getting started with Northstar, depending on how you're going to use it. Again, today, I'm going to give you just a lot of information. I don't really expect you to remember all the different steps, and how to proctor or how to add a new learner. What I want you to walk away with is the idea that these things are possible and they're fairly easy to do, and that we have resources in your Northstar admin portal for you to reference when you forget, all the steps I've told you. So we'll talk about how to create the learner accounts. We'll talk about proctoring, what that's like in person and remotely. We'll talk about where you can find that instructor-led curricula and a little bit about it. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We will look at the resources, and then I'll show you some other reports that you have access to that we didn't look at yesterday. So as a reminder, we have the assessments that oftentimes people will take as a pre-assessment to see, what they already know and where they should focus their learning on. And then there are two types of educational materials, the instructor-led curricula and the self-directed online learning, which I sometimes refer to as the practice lessons because it's shorter to say. And then that's all tied together with this learner management system and the reports. And then we've talked about the English and the Spanish yesterday. So first of all, in order to use Northstar, you have to have access to the Northstar admin portal. And we talked about this a little bit at the end yesterday, where if you don't have access to your Northstar admin portal, you would need to talk to your Northstar administrator at your library. And for any of you who are administrators, you can add someone under the location information tab in the admin portal. When someone is added, you will get an email from Northstar saying, so-and-so invited you to the Northstar admin portal. You'll be asked to create a password. I would personally bookmark your admin portal page just to make it easier to get to. But if you are going to be using Northstar on another computer, or you don't want to bookmark it, or for whatever reason, you can always log in to your admin portal from our Northstar homepage. And you can see the address there is digitalliteracyassessment.org, but, and I'll put that in the chat too. But even if you don't remember that, if you put in Northstar Digital Literacy, you will find us. So let me show you where that login is from our homepage. Just a second. So here, I'll put this in the chat. This is our homepage. Again, if you were to type in Northstar Digital Literacy, you would get to us. And so here in the upper right-hand corner in this gray oval, so I'm looking the black navigation bar in the gray oval on the right, it says login. I click there. I would enter my email address and the password I had created, and then click on login. And where it takes you, so I have a network, which you all won't see. it will just take you right to this landing page. So this is what the page that you will open on will look like. And if we look at the top in the blue navigation bar, the tab that I'm currently on, that is the landing page, is where you see this Northstar logo. And on mine, it says demo. On yours, it won't say demo, it will say the name of your library. So for this purpose, my library is called demo. And you can see that it will give you some information particular to your organization and to you on this landing page. And we'll talk more about this as we go along. What I want to direct your attention to, and what we'll be looking at mostly, are these different tabs in the blue navigation bar. So right now we're on the Northstar logo where it says demo. We will look at today, we will look at the learners tab, the assessments tab, a little bit on the reports tab, and the resources tab. Anything that says location on here, we're not going to really talk about today. One, because the location information, that's only for Northstar administrators. So none of you, it will show up on your admin portal, but none of you can actually open it unless you're a Northstar administrator. And then my locations, you most likely will only have one location, unless you work at several libraries. So we're gonna not really talk about those too much today. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is how to add learners to the Northstar learner management system. And the reason that you would go to the trouble of adding learners to the learner management system, does anyone remember? I briefly talked about it yesterday. Does anyone remember why you would want to do that? I see something in the chat. For the reporting, it does, yes, it makes the reportings, what do I want to say, more robust. And Patricia, you're right. So you want to be able to, if you sign someone up into the learner management system, then they have access to the practice lessons. And then you can see what they're working on and you can assist them. And as Cindy said, then that will all be coming through in the reports very clearly. So great answers. So just remember that a learner cannot access the practice lessons, those self-directed practice lessons, unless they've been added to the learner management system. And the first thing I want you all to think about, if you're going to do this, is that idea of creating tags. So we talked about yesterday that the default for reporting is that it would show you every learner in your system, which sometimes you want to see, but sometimes you want to run those sub-reports of just a certain amount of people. And one of the first things I would recommend for you all to discuss at your libraries is what tagging system do you want to use, so that you kind of get a nomenclature and you make sure you're on common ground so that everyone in the library is using the tagging nomenclature the same way, and putting the appropriate tags to each person. That you can always change that. You can always add tags, you can always delete them, but it's just a good exercise to kind of get everyone thinking about this upfront. So creating tags is really easy. The way you would do it is you'd log into your admin portal and you would go to, in that blue navigation bar, the learner tab. So remember, it opens up for me where it says demo. For you, let's say your library. I'm going to go to the right to the learners tab and click on that. Now, as you're looking at this, oops. All right, my screen is doing funny things. As you're looking at this, where do you think you would go to add new tags? So kind of in this area where I've circled with the red. take a guess. I haven't told you. Where would you go to add new tags? Any guesses? Manage tags, right here where it says new. And I did see a question in the chat. If you have someone sign up and start taking assessments and you haven't even launched the program, that's okay. You can always retroactively add them into the system and their information will be saved. So it's not a problem to do that. And still, it's great to practice with people. So I would never say that was a bad thing. All right, so we're going to click on Manage Tags. I'm going to get rid of my drawing. And this is where you can see where it says Enter Tag Name. You'd click in the box and you'd create whatever tag name you want. Anyone have a thought about a tag name you'd want to use? If not, I can make something up. But if you have an idea of something that you think would be useful for a group of learners you're working with, we can use that. All right, let's see. Winter 2023. All right. So all I do is I type it in. I then click on Create Tag, and it will be added to my list. And you can see by my list, you can have as many tags as you want. They are arranged alphabetically. So we're going to find our winter tag at the bottom here. Winter 2023. Now let's say I had misspelled winter. I could always click on the pencil and edit the name. And then over on the far right, well, let's say that someone had already created that one, I could always remove it. I could always delete it with a trash can there. So once you have, some tags that you want to use, then we're going to go and add the learner. And so the place to do that, I'm going to go back to my View Learners subtab, which is under the word demo here. And I'm going to add a new learner. Again, I haven't told you this, but any guesses as to, in this area here, what I would click on to add a new learner? And again, not a trick question. Invite new learner, yes. Very good. All right. Thank you all. So we're going to click on Invite New Learner. And if you remember, the only information that you have to give is someone's first name, their last name, and their email. Now, of course, some people who have low or no digital literacy skills don't have an email account. That's okay. I understand that libraries are in the business of giving people email accounts anyway, but you can create an email account for them. It doesn't have to be something that they even access. It just has to be a kind of look like a legit email account. It's how they sign in, but again, they don't have to use it. So I'm going to try and make one here, but I sometimes have already used them. So if it gives me a message saying I can't do it, it's because I've used it. And then here's where I would enter the tags, where it says enter tags. So I click in this rectangle, then all the tags I've created come up. And if I want to add that, you can type in the letters and we'll get you to the right spot. I want to add winter 2023, I can add that. If I want to add another tag, I just click in the box again. And let's say I'm looking at where this person, what zip code they're from. So I'm going to add the zip code. Here also, you can see that you can choose the language. So English or Spanish. And this is, there will be an email message that goes out to the learner, if, again, if they're able to access email and read it. And so here you're choosing if you want the email to go out in English or Spanish. So I have all the information I need. I'm going to click on Invite Learner. And it looks like I have not used this email account yet. So the new learner has been added. And I don't know if you saw it, but I got a little message on the right-hand side of my screen. And then the learners are arranged alphabetically by last name. So here's our new one. And you can see that many of the learners here have this green check under where it says status. And the one I just created has a yellow clock. And if I hover over it, it says pending. So what that means is that this person has been sent an email asking them to create a password. And this is what the email looks like. So you can see that if someone can use email, they know how to access it, and they can read this, they can click on this big blue bar, make a password, and then they can get into the practice lessons. Of course, some people, as we said, don't have the digital skills to do this, and they may not have the reading skills to do this either. So that's okay. You can create a password for them as well. So the way to manually create a password is, and I'll show you this, but there'll be a 4 boxes on the right, and one will have a lightning bolt, and you'll click on that to create the password. If you're going to create passwords for people, I would highly, highly recommend that you use some kind of consistent system across your library so that people can remember it. We all forget passwords, and people who aren't used to having passwords for digital literacy forget them even more frequently. So invariably, you'll be asked, what is my password? So it's always helpful for you to have a consistent system to remember it more easily. Some libraries will buy it's like a $20, $25 label maker that lets you put the username and password on a label and then have the learner stick it on the back of their phone underneath their phone case. You know, the Northstar is not doesn't have to be highly secure unless they're using that password for, bank accounts or something. It's okay to do that. Or you can give them a piece of paper that has the password on it, whatever works for you and the learner. So let me show you how to do this. So if we look here at Delaware Donna, she's got the pending clock, and over on the far right, you can see that these 4 boxes, and one of them is the lightning bolt. If I click on the lightning bolt, I add in the information. Well, the information is already there. The first name, last name, and email address have already been filled in. And then here's where I type the password and click on update. And then I would provide, of course, that password and email to the learner wanting to log in. Any questions about that process before we go on? And I will show you how people can sign up themselves too in just a minute.
Can we use that same, go into that same area if the learner forgot their password, just to reset it on the spot?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you can actually go into their name. So you'll have all the learners listed under the learner tab. And if I want to go in, I would click on the person's name, and then there should be, as I try to remember where it is. I think if I go into the history there is a place where it would let me change the password. Maybe I'm confusing you. Well, I'm confusing myself, so probably confusing you. Here, right next to their first name, there's a pencil, and that's where you can edit it, and you can edit the password there. And Patricia asked if you can create a tag later, and you can do that. All right. So the purpose of the tags, again, anyone, what are the purpose of the tags? Why do I want to create tags? Let's see. Yep, so I can look at report. I can run sub-reports, track class progress. So rather than running a report and seeing all the people at the library who are using Northstar, which could potentially be a lot, right? I could only see those that I want to see. All right. No, you don't have to use tags, Kathy. You know, if you don't care, if you don't care if you're looking at the report for everyone all at once, that's fine. It was more, we had, especially instructors of certain classes only wanted to see the people that they work with in the class. And so this is why the tagging feature was created, so that people could run those sub-reports just of a small group. It's a good question. Yeah, I definitely no need to create tags. And as someone asked, we can create tags after the fact too. So if you find like, hey, this is getting too bulky, I do want to look at a subset, you can always decide that after the fact. So good questions. And then speaking of classes, there will be some times where you might want to add a lot of learners at one time. And you can do that by add them all in bulk. We provide you a spreadsheet that has, you know, column for first name, last name, and email. And then you enter that information, you save it on your computer, and then you will upload it into Northstar, and then all those learners will be created at one time. In this case, you can't actually add tags to the spreadsheet. So this is another case where you might add tags after the fact. So let me show you how to do all this. So I think that your statement about, you know, we might not use tags is the message I want to get out today, which is that take from what I'm telling you and what you're doing here and fit it to what your library needs. And so, you know, if tags aren't something you need, if you're not going to have people using the self-directed online learning, feel free to I'm giving you everything. Feel free to take the pieces that are relevant to you. And that's a really good message. So here I am again under the Learners tab. We saw where you invite new learners. If you want to add a group in bulk, you would go to the import right to the right of that, and it turns gray when I hover over it. And I click on it, and then here in the blue rectangle, you'll see the word CSV template highlighted. I would click on that to get that spreadsheet, again, fill it out, save it to my system, and then choose file to upload it. Then all those email invitations will be sent to everyone on that list at one time. Now, if you want to add a tag after the fact to an existing learner, because maybe you added them all in bulk, maybe you decided you weren't going to use tags at first, and then as the program grew, you decided you want them. Maybe you've added a new class and you wanted to add a new tag to people that have already been coming to the library. You can do that pretty easily. So we're going to go to, again, that Learners tab in the admin portal. And you can see that if we look at all the learners, on the far left, there's this blank square. So if I go to those squares and click the people that I want to add the tag to, I can either do one, I can do multiple people. And I'm going to add, it tells me over here on the right how many I'm adding. So you can see I've added 6. And I say that's the number I want. Then I click on where it says assign tags in the green box. All my tags come up, and I want to do our winter class. I can do several too. So let's say I also wanted to do, I don't know, advanced online class. Then I can hit apply. And then all those I've tagged, you can see have the winter 2023 and the advanced online class. So quick way to add tags to several people after the fact. You can also allow your patrons to sign up themselves. And that is something that your network administrator can do. And if if it is allowed on, if you decide to allow it, when someone comes to take, let's say, an assessment, they'll see initially at the bottom here, it says, if you have a learner account, log in now. They click on that. Everyone would see this. They click on that and they would enter the email and password they already had. If they were allowed to do self sign up, where I've circled in red and it says need a learner account, here's where they could sign up themselves if they hadn't already been entered into the system. So they'd click on sign up as a learner, they would add first name, last name, email, create a password, and they would be entered into the system. Obviously, there are some people who would not be able to do this, if they didn't have the digital skills, but many of the people at the library who come to the library will. So what libraries do often is they'll have, on their library webpage, they'll have a link to Northstar, and they'll let people sign up themselves so they can take an assessment and they can then access the practice lessons. And then they'll have something in the library where they have staff who can help those who are lower digital literacy who could not do that. So those are two kind of options. You can either just do the one where you're having people use Northstar more on their own, and then depending on your capabilities and your staffing, you can add in helping the lowest level digital literacy learners and a more in person. Now you can, well, I'm going to stop there. I see some questions in the chat. And so, yeah, this is a great question. If someone signs up themselves, are they automatically added to the learner accounts on the admin side? So yes, you will see their name if they've signed up in your report, in your learner tab. There is not an option to put in your library card, which would be great. It would be, single sign-on, so that if someone entered their library card, they could then access Northstar without creating a password. We don't have that yet. It is something that many organizations are asking for, and in fact, we're kind of in discussions with a potential funder to maybe be able to do that. Something that we definitely want to do, but at this moment, no. Can't do that. All right. So the other thing I want to show you, so just to kind of recap, if you want people to use the practice lessons, they have to be entered into the learner management system. That is something that either you can have staff do, or you can allow people to do themselves if they have the capability to do it. The tagging is useful if you want to run sub-reports that just show a certain group, not necessary. I also want you to know how you can see the practice lessons yourselves, because you all have, if you have a Northstar admin account, you all have access to the self-directed online learning practice lessons. And this is valuable because you can use, one, it's good for you to be able to see what they are so that if someone asks you questions, you know what they're talking about. And two, you can use it for your own professional development as well. And it's very easy to switch between kind of being, a staff role in the admin portal and the learner role. So I want to show you how you do that. So if we are in our admin portal, take a second. Here I am. I'm going to go back to the learner tab. Here I am in my admin portal as a staff person. If you look at my blue navigation bar at the far right, it has my name there. And if I click on the drop-down arrow, one of the options is Northstar Online Learning. So if I click on that, I am now, after I answer this question, I am now in my learner dashboard. So this is my own. And now I can see everything that a learner would see if they were doing the practice lessons. This is what it would look like. And I can also use it again for my own professional development. And then when I want to go back to the admin portal, I would again go to my name, which is in the kind of upper right-hand corner, click on the drop-down arrow. and go back to the admin portal. For me, it will ask which one I want to go into because I'm part of several, but for you, it would just take you back here. So an easy way for you to kind of switch back and forth. Any questions about adding learners, why you would add learners, tagging, any of that right now? And remember, you know, I'm not going to expect that you're going to 3 weeks from now add a learner and remember everything I've told you. So I will show you where in the resources where you can find all this information. As a reminder, these are the 11 practice lessons we currently have, the self-directed online learning practice lessons. The team is now working on information literacy. That should be out this month. And then your digital footprint, I believe, is coming out in April. All right, so then let's switch gears and talk about the assessments for a little bit. Someone mentioned that you had people take assessments before entering them into the learner management system. It is entirely possible for people to take an assessment without being entered into the learner management system. They'll still get that results page that we looked at yesterday. Their information will still be recorded for your reports. The way that it happens is that when they're going to take an assessment, instead of logging in, they type in their first and last name. The only downside to, well, the main downside to that is that they can't access the practice lessons. But the other downside to that is that it relies on people to type in their name exactly the same every time they take an assessment. So for example, if my name is Elizabeth Brown, and the first time I take an assessment, I type in Elizabeth Brown. And then the second time I take the assessment, I type in Liz Brown. Northstar won't realize I'm the same person. So the reporting won't be quite as clean. You can always change this after the fact. It's not a problem to add them into the system and tie all their records together. But I just want you to know the trade-offs for that. And sometimes, you know, that's an acceptable trade-off, depending on your library situation. So here are the assessments. And we talked about how oftentimes someone will take the assessment as a pre-assessment, usually unproctored, just to see where they're at and where's the opportunity for learning. Then that learning will happen. And then that same assessment will be given as a post-assessment and oftentimes proctored in the hopes that someone can get that certificate. Proctoring is something that libraries do or don't do, mostly depending on staff capacity. You can use volunteers as well. The way I've heard other libraries do proctoring, you know, in classes, it's a little easier because the instructors can do the proctoring, but just for the general Northstar user, some libraries will have open computer lab times, and they'll say, you know, you can come in and have proctoring done during these times. Some libraries will have people sign up for proctoring, and then they'll schedule it with someone on staff. Some libraries will do it remotely. So again, they'll have either certain times that they're available to do remote proctoring, and or they'll have signups sheets. So you can think about, you know, as you're kind of thinking about how you might implement Northstar, you can think about, is proctoring something that we can offer? If so, what would it look like? I mean, some libraries have digital navigators who can proctor right on the spot, or staff that can proctor right on the spot. It really depends on your library and your goals. I will say proctoring is pretty easy, so we're going to take a look at how to do it here. So that might help you decide. And you don't have to start out proctoring. I mean, you can say, let's start using Northstar, you know, kind of on the scale we can, and then maybe in 6 months we decide we're going to proctor. So it's not a decision, or it's not something you have to either implement right now or you can't. Hope that makes sense. So if someone wants to take an assessment through your library, whether it's unproctored or proctored, they'll first have to get to the right page. And all of your libraries have your own site-specific Northstar URL. And so when someone goes to that URL, all that they do is being reported to your library. So you won't see other libraries' information and they won't see yours. And so you need to know what that URL is so you can provide it to your patrons, right? And so you can find that. So I'll show you where you can find that. And I would advise you to bookmark that URL on any computers in the library that people will be accessing Northstar with. You can put it as a link on your on your library webpage. It's kind of a long, clunky URL, so you don't want people typing it in just because it's long. So anywhere you can have links to it, the better. So you can find this URL in your admin portal. Underneath the Northstar logo, where again, mine says demo, yours will say your library. And if you see here, this blue box that says location pin, look to the right of that. And the second bullet point says bookmark this page. You can see it's a super long page. That is the URL. So if I were to go to it, what I see is that here I am on the Northstar assessment page. It has my library name, which is demo, my address. You can see it says proctor mode is off, and this bar is kind of gray with hash marks in it. The warning is more because I'm playing dual roles here. But then down here are all the assessments. So any assessment I take or someone takes on this URL will go to my, to my demo library. The other way that people can, and I do see some questions in the chat, so I'll get there in just a second. The other way that people can access the assessments is, let's say they log in to do the practice lessons and they've done some of the self-directed online learning practice lessons and they feel like they're ready to take an assessment. They can take an assessment from that page. So let me show you what that looks like. So here a learner I'm on the Northstar, let's say I went to the Northstar homepage. Let's see. And again, I'm going to have to log out. My system loves to have me logged in. If I was a learner, I'd come here to the Northstar homepage, or you might have it bookmarked on your library with that URL, on your library webpage with your URL, wherever it is. And I would click on login in the upper right-hand corner and put in my, if I'm a learner, put in my email and password, and it would take me right to those self-directed online learning practice lessons. It won't for me because I'm an administrator, but for a learner, it would take them right to the practice lessons. And so where they're going to go is to this page. I apologize for having to click through a couple of things they wouldn't see. So they're going to come to this page. Let's say they're practicing the practice lessons. They're ready to take an assessment. You can see for each topic, it says take an assessment in the bottom left of the kind of square. If they click on that, again, they're going to go to your library and the proctor mode will be off and they're already logged in and they're ready to take the assessment. So those are the two ways that someone can take an assessment that's recorded to your library, either through a bookmark that you've given them with that site-specific URL or through the practice lessons. So let me take a look at the chat. Yeah, it would be great if you added it to your library website, so it'll make it a lot easier for people. So let's skip that. So we talked about proctoring assessments. Why would you proctor an assessment? What's the value in proctoring an assessment? Why is it good for the learner? Yes, right. So the learner can receive a certificate if they pass. Exactly. And as we talked about yesterday, that can be really meaningful for people. Some people also do need to have, let's say they're trying to get into a higher level kind of computer class. Many of them actually require people to have passed certain Northstar assessments in order to get in. And it's to make sure that they are going to be successful. So some people might come to you and say, hey, I need a proctored assessment so I can get into this program, just so you know. So, and then, of course, it helps us maintain our assessment viability, and you can do proctoring in person or remotely. So let's first talk about in person, because I feel like that's easier just to visualize. If I'm going to offer assessments or assessments just in general at my library, what are some basic things I need to have in order for someone to do a computer assessment, a Northstar assessment? Really basic. What do I need at the library? Let's see. A computer, exactly. I'm going to need a device, either a computer, laptop, or Chromebook is ideal. I need Wi-Fi and internet, reliable connection. Those two things are very important. I also would highly recommend that you provide headphones. As you saw yesterday, the assessments do have audio, and it can be distracting for anyone sitting around the person using Northstar. So I would recommend having headphones. So if you're going to do proctoring, you're going to have those things. You're going to have that site-specific URL, hopefully bookmarked on the device that they're going to use, help someone log into that. Then you're going to check their ID to make sure that they are who they say they are. And again, this is mostly for those programs that require the certifications to get into their training programs. You don't want person X taking the assessment for person Y, and then person Y goes to the class and is unable to really do it. So you just have them show their ID to you. And then you would either read or provide or paraphrase the Northstar Testing Code of Conduct, show you where that is, but it's pretty basic. It's, don't eat or drink at the computer, ask for any accommodations before you start taking the assessment. Don't be respectful of the library, things like that. And then you're going to activate the proctoring using your own unique, what we call proctor pin, which is an alphanumeric code that is unique to any of you that are going to be doing proctoring. So in order to become a proctor, you would have your Northstar administrator add you as a proctor into the system. You'll get an email from Northstar saying, so-and-so added you as proctor. Please watch this 15-minute video that tells you how to do proctoring. And then there's like a three question quiz or something like that. And once you pass the quiz, you would get your own proctor pin. It's helpful if you memorize it. If you're proctoring a lot, you probably will. But if you forget, or if you don't have it memorized yet, you can always find it again on the landing page under the Northstar logo, with your library name in this yellow where it says proctor pin here. Although I am sharing mine with you, I would not share it. I would keep it confidential. You especially don't want to share it with learners, because you don't want someone putting in your proctor pin when you aren't really proctoring them. So in order to do the proctoring, let's say that someone has gone to your site-specific URL, and I do want to show you what it looks like for them to sign in, actually. So again, I have to trick my system here a little bit. Just bear with me. This is not how it would look. All right, so here I am. I clicked on that site-specific URL. You can see proctor mode is off. Here's where I mentioned it says if you have a learner account, I would log in now. If I didn't have one, I could either sign up as a learner, or, you know, if I hadn't been added to the system, I could enter my first name and last name. Let's say I have a learner account and I log in. Then my name comes up. So you want to verify that you can see their name. And now you're going to start the proctoring. So the key word here is that you're going to add your proctor pin to this page, and pin is the key word. So knowing that, as you look at this page, again, I haven't told you this, but take a guess as to where you might add that proctor pin, knowing that pin is the key word. Let's see. Yes, validate computer via PIN. Great. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to enter my proctor PIN and then click on authorize. And then you see, hey, proctor mode is on, and there's this green ribbon. So now you know you're proctoring. You would have someone scroll down and take whatever assessment they want to take. You'd watch them take it. And then ultimately they'll get the results page. So before they take the assessment, you want to make sure they don't have any notes, they don't have someone helping them, they're not looking at their phone. And then, you know, you'd have them take the assessment. Again, you don't have to be sitting right next to them watching. Sometimes that's helpful, so you can see if they make mistakes, what they're getting confused by. But as long as you can kind of keep an eye on the computer and make sure that they're not using outside sources, that's fine. Now, sometimes you might be teaching a class and it might be, you know, kind of putsy to have to go around to, let's say you have a class of 10 people, to go around to every computer and add your proctor pin while people are waiting for you to do that. Or if you're proctoring remotely, obviously you can't do that. So we have developed another way to proctor either remotely or to large groups. And I want to show you how to do that. But first, any questions about what I've talked about so far? Okay. You also always want to remember to end the proctor mode once you're done. Once they are done with the assessment, they've seen that results page. Again, because you don't want to leave it open and have someone come and take an assessment when you're not actually proctoring. If that happens, you can always change it in the system, but best if you can remember to turn it off. All right. And we talked about all this, but it will be on the slide deck. And I give to Andrea. So if you're going to do remote proctoring, the person, you know, the learner who's taking the assessment, they need to have a device, right? So computer, laptop, or Chromebook is best. They also, you're going to connect with them with whatever video chat program you use, Zoom, Skype, Teams, whatever your library uses. And then they're going to have a camera so you can see them. You'll have to be able to talk to them either through the microphone or through chat or however they want to do it. And then if they are using microphones, you'll want them to know how to mute it, just again, so you're not hearing the whole assessment yourself. We do have a test taker checklist that you can provide to people ahead of time or put on your library website so that they come prepared. You'll also want to provide them some way to talk to you in case your video platform isn't working. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I'm constantly on Zoom. I'm training all the time. And occasionally it happens that something goes wrong and I can't get into someone's Zoom account. Having another way to contact that person is a lifesaver. So however they would normally contact your library, either phone, email if they know how to use email, WhatsApp, or whatever it would be, make sure that they know how to do that in case the video platform, in case they're having problems. And then you also, you know, if you're working with people who have lower digital literacy skills, they may not be comfortable using your video platform. So you want to make sure that if this is the first time they're taking an assessment using your video conferencing platform, that they're comfortable doing it, that they know how to unmute and mute, that they know how to chat any questions, that they know how to turn on and off the video. And take the time to go over that rather than rushing right into the assessment, because that's just going to be a little more stressful. And we have, Northstar has like a checklist of how to do all this. We have some training material for you. So I'll show you that later, of how to help people get comfortable with the video conferencing platform. So once they're ready to go, you're going to, again, check their ID. So they're going to just show it to you on in the camera. You're going to read that Northstar testing code of conduct to them. And then you're going to have them log into Northstar. Now, the easiest way to do this, if they are remote, or even if you have a large, well, if you have a large class, maybe you have it already bookmarked on the computers. But the easiest way to do it, if they're remote, is to just put it in the chat, and then they click on the link that's in the chat, that site-specific URL. And then you're going to activate the proctoring session. So let me show you how to do that. So we looked at our Northstar admin portal, and we were talking about learners and how to add learners, and that was under the learners tab, right? Oh, that was under the learners tab. Now we're talking about assessments, and we're proctoring assessments. So this is all under the assessments tab. And over here on the left is kind of all about assessment taking and proctoring. So your site-specific URL is also on this page. So it's in two places, right? It's under the Northstar logo, and it's under the assessment tab. And this would be it, under where it says assessment launch page. Here's that page. If I can put this in the chat and someone clicks on it, and they again get back to my site-specific URL to take the assessment. And then I imagine that, so you're in this virtual computer lab, and you are inside it, the door's closed and locked, and the people wanting to take the assessment are kind of patiently waiting outside the door for it to open. And so the way you're going to open that, so what they see is this, that proctor mode is off, and they're kind of waiting. What you're going to do to unlock that door and open it is to click on View Current Proctor Session in blue under the word proctoring. And now you have opened the door. They're still outside. And so you're going to tell them, I want you to, what they see is this again, you're going to tell them to join proctor mode. And that's basically you saying, come on in. Once they click join proctor mode, you can see that they're waiting for you to respond. So they're kind of like, really, can we really come in? And on your end, what it looks like, I have to refresh my screen, I think, is that, oh, hey, there's someone waiting there. And you can see their status is pending. So if you are ready to start the proctoring, you can click on the green Start Proctoring. Now, let's say you had remote proctoring hours from, I don't know, 10 to noon, and it was 11:55, and you knew you had to leave exactly at noon. So you don't have time to start a new assessment. You can click on Deny to deny them. Of course, I would talk to them and say why you're doing that. But let's say you're ready to proctor. You're going to click on Start Proctoring. It says, hey, you are ready to start proctoring. And on their end, what the learner sees is, oh, proctor mode is on and it's green. Now you're ready to, again, you're going to sort of have them show you with their camera that there's no one in the room, that they don't have any notes on their desk, they don't have a phone nearby. And then you're going to have them go ahead and click on the assessment and start the assessment. You can proctor, Northstar says you can proctor up to 10 people remotely at one time, as long as you can see them all on your screen. So Zoom would let you see 10 people, Teams would not. So depending on the video conference platform you're using, As long as you can see them all on your screen, we say you can proctor up to 10 people at once. They don't have to all be doing the same assessment. They don't even have to start at the same time if you have little breakout rooms to go over the information with them. You can do that. Some libraries have found that if you're going to be proctoring a lot of people at one time, it's helpful to have two people on staff. So as someone comes in, that person brings them into a breakout room, goes over, checks their ID, goes over the code of conduct, and then they'll start the proctoring in the main room. Once you are done with the proctoring for a person, you can click on Stop Proctoring under the action here in the gray rectangle. And then when you're ready to kind of lock up your virtual computer lab again, you can click on End Proctor Mode here in gold. And that will end the proctoring session. And Aubrey's right, this would be the same process if you had a group in the room. So instead of having to go around to each computer, you can sit at your computer and just let them all in at one time. Northstar, and that also brings to mind the fact that Northstar says you can in person proctor as many people as you can see their computers. So if you are in a room and you have, I don't know, 12 computers and you can see all of them, you can proctor all those people at once. So there, and we went over this, but there are, several steps. Again, I don't expect you're going to remember this in a couple of days, every step. There are resources that I will show you, but I want you to know that it's fairly easy to do proctoring. And as we talked about yesterday, an assessment typically takes someone about 15 to 20 minutes to do. So, as you're thinking about time management for proctoring, I'd give it about half an hour for each proctoring session. So where can you find all of this that I've told you? Again, in your handy admin portal. If you go to on the blue navigation bar, in the middle kind of to resources. And then here you can see this is a grid of a kind of 3 by 3. In the middle column, in the middle row, it says proctoring assessments. Here are some videos that tell you how to do proctoring. It's the same video you'll go through when you take your when you're assigned to be a proctor. But if you're assigned to be a proctor, let's say you were assigned to be a proctor a year ago and you don't really remember, you can review it. And then if you click on View Details in Manual, this manual we'll look at more in depth in a second, but part 2 is all about Northstar assessments, and the first bullet point is about proctoring assessments. So then it would walk you through everything we have talked about. And it usually has short, you can see, short directions, and then it will have screenshots so that you can see how to do everything. Any questions about the proctoring? Why you would do it, when you would do it? All right. So when we proctor, we do hope someone passes and gets the certificate. This is what the certificate looks like. And there are many places within Northstar to actually print the certificate. But one of the easiest to remember, I think, is because you've been giving an assessment, you're under the assessment tab. And we looked at it for proctoring was on the left-hand side. And once an assessment has been given, we're going to go to the right-hand side. And so if you've just been proctoring one person, easiest thing to do is search assessment by user, type their name in, and search. If you have been doing a whole class, you can look at either all results or proctored and passed only, or whatever makes the most sense to you. But you ultimately will press the search. And then it comes up with, here you can see that I passed. And over on the far right, it shows a certificate, the word certificate in it will either be a gray or a blue rectangle. And you click on that. It comes as a PDF download. So you open it up. Here's the certificate. It lists the test taker's name. It lists your library's name. It says what they passed, when they passed it, with the date, and then whoever proctored it. And so then the proctor can sign it, print it out, and give it to the assessment taker. You can also send this as a PDF in an email, again, assuming someone knows how to access email and open the PDF. All right. So any questions again about the assessments or any of the proctoring at the moment? Okay. So now I want to show you where the instructor-led curriculum is housed in Northstar, and a little bit about what we have. As a reminder, everything in Northstar is written at an intermediate English language reading level, and what's in Spanish would be at an intermediate Spanish reading level. So this is about a grade 4 reading level. If you use these tests, you know what these numbers mean. If you don't, doesn't matter. But basically, someone at an intermediate English language reading level is someone who can converse in full sentences. They can read probably short paragraphs, but they may not be able to express all the ideas that that they want to express. It doesn't mean that you can't use Northstar with lower level English language learners or Spanish level learners. Many programs do, but it does require that the instructors, what we call scaffold down, which means that that you go a lot slower, that you might have to teach vocabulary words around the digital literacy vocabulary. You probably have to repeat things more. Sometimes libraries do that. They work with English language learners or literacy learners, and they're great at it. And some libraries, that's not their focus. So if you're a library that is not your focus, and you do have some maybe patrons who are interested in using Northstar, but who are at these lower English or Spanish level learning, you can, one good option is to find an adult education program in your area and partner with them. So they are working with people on literacy. That's what they do, work with adults on literacy. And so you might refer someone to them, and then have them, if they get any adult interested that maybe literacy is not an issue, but they want to learn digital literacy, they can partner with you and refer them to the library. So it's a really great way to use your strengths for each organization as you're thinking about bigger picture for your library. Is, I always like to think of libraries as kind of the center of a community, and helping direct people to appropriate resources. You may not, but that's what I like to think of them as. All right, so in the curriculum, there's a lot of material there for you to help you use it. And I will show you where all of this is. We'll go through it much more in depth tomorrow. But it does have what we call a scope and sequence. So for every unit topic, such as Internet Basics, it will list out all those standards. And if you remember, the standards are the skills that someone needs to have to be competent in that area. It will list out all the standards, and then in what lesson you can find that standard. So again, if you just want to teach a couple of the standards, you can easily find where they are in the curriculum. The lesson plans are all included. There are some documents that, so I should say the lesson plans were intended to be used by many people. You don't have to have an education degree to use them. If you want kind of more in-depth information on the lessons themselves, we do have some teaching resources that go into why do we include the sections that we do and how to best use them. We also have remote teaching resources. So if you're going to be doing this remotely, and you'll see this tomorrow. It's pretty fun actually, but to help you do this remotely most effectively. There's also with each unit a final unit project, and this is optional. But if you and it's geared toward being more academic. So it involves taking a couple paragraphs, reading them, and then taking the skills that have been learned in the unit and creating a project. The way it's written is for more an educational institution who might want to use those readings to teach reading comprehension, you know, how to read, but you don't have to use it that way. So you could just have someone read the paragraph and have learned the skills and then do the project. If you have learners who are more advanced or who are looking for more of a challenge, and these are kind of more real world projects. So that's an option for you. And then we do show how Northstar aligns to these other types of what we call standards. Again, more educational focused, but how they kind of align to these college and career readiness standards, which are more academic in nature, and also how they align to certain soft skills, which are what you would call workplace skills sometimes, just to show, you know, what you're also teaching in addition to the digital literacy, if that is important to you. So you need to know where you can find all this information. And again, it's in your admin portal. So let's go back there. And you're going to find it in resources. So I'm on my blue navigation bar. In the middle, it says resources, and this is the page that you see. And can anyone find, I know sometimes when you're looking at a page that you're not used to, there's a lot of stuff on it. Can anyone find where I would click to find the Northstar curriculum? Where it says Northstar curriculum, right? And it says that in two places. So can anyone find one of them? Like direct me to it, I guess. You can unmute if it's easier to talk than type. In the middle right. Okay, so here's one right here. Anyone see the other one? And I will say that I didn't see the other one for many trainings until someone actually pointed it out to me. And the top kind of, yeah, it's here. You can see it here too. Either one will get you there. And I honestly have looked at this page hundreds of times and had never really paid attention to that. So you can learn something new every day, right? So either one of those will get you to the curriculum. And I'm just going to go to my favorite spot and click on the View Northstar curriculum here. And here it all is. So you can see that here's the teacher. So I'm looking under the paragraph at the 3 bullet points. Here's the teacher guide that I was talking about. Here are the tips for remote teaching. And then we did talk about it. If you're going to do something virtually, you want to make sure that someone knows how to use your video conferencing platform. So this sample agenda for first virtual class meeting goes more in depth than that. But it does have a nice, if you love checklists, this is the thing for you. Because it does say, okay, here's how you're going to get people to make sure people know how to use their cameras. Here's how you're going to make sure people know the muting and the chat box. So you can kind of pull out of this anything that you might need to help you remember how to do that or what to say. Then here are all 15 of the different units. If we go into, let's say, Internet Basics, you'll see the scope and sequences at the top. It's always at the top. And this shows, if you look in the third column over this, all the standards here, there's usually about 15 to 20, I would say. And then let's say you wanted to teach standard 5, how to use browser tools. You can go over to the lesson outline and standards address on the farthest right column and look for number 5, and you see that it's in lesson 7. So that's a way for you to quickly find what you might be looking for if you're not going to teach the whole lesson. Here are those, the alignments I was telling you about to show how Northstar is aligned to those other standards. May not be important to you. Here are all the lessons then listed underneath them. Last, under lesson 9, you see Internet Basics Unit Project. That was that project I was telling you about, where it takes the skills learned, a couple paragraph reading to create a project. And then if you are teaching this remotely, you know, you don't want to show all the lesson plan on your screen to learners. You just want to show the relevant worksheets and handouts. So if you click on the remote learning resources pages, then that will show you, that will bring up on your screen just that. So as you're presenting, you have that all in one place. The other resources, let you see a question. Someone said, are they updated often? If you download it all and put it in a binder for the teacher, would that be appropriate? That's totally fine. And in fact, I myself, when I use them, I will download it and have it next to me on the desk. It's much easier that way. They are updated, but if there's going to be a major update, you would get an email about it. So sometimes, like, maybe there's a grammatical error or a you know, spelling error or something, and as we notice those, we fix them. But for the main, really meaty teaching part of it, we would send out an email if it had been updated. We don't have an answer key. Well, that's not true. In the handouts, there will be answer keys in the lessons. So, you know, if you have a project or something that someone's working on, a handout that someone's working on, then we'll provide you the answer key in that lesson plan. No answer key to the actual assessments is what I wanted to say, but here in these lessons, you'll have them. So I would, if you have a chance before, and you're thinking about using this before our training tomorrow, just kind of go in here, pick one of the topics and look at a lesson, and kind of, you'll see that it's, and we'll see tomorrow too, how it's laid out so that you don't have to do a lot to prepare for it. It's pretty much all there for you. We won't do that right now just because there's a few other things I want to show you, but all right. So I do want you to know that we looked at some reports yesterday, the overall kind of big picture reports. There are quite a few reports in Northstar looking at specifically what learners are doing. And they're kind of scattered throughout Northstar, so it's not as easy maybe to quickly find as you'd like, as I would like. So I want to kind of show you where you can find the reports. So they are under the reports tab. Those are the big picture reports. That makes kind of sense. Some other reports are under learner tab and the assessment tab. So let's just take a look at those. So here I am again in my Northstar admin portal. I'm on the learner tab. This is where we added the tags. This is where we added the new learners, and where you can import on bulk. And this is where you can see that it shows all of the learners in your system. And, you know, I have 3 pages. So again, that's a lot. If I'm an instructor, I don't want to wade through all these to find my students. So that's why tagging might be helpful. But what this is showing you is kind of a quick look at how people are doing and what they're doing. So you'll notice that next to each learner's name, there are these 15 icons. And the icons each stand for one of the assessments. So, and you'll get to know these as you use this, but like the footprints stand for your digital footprint. The globe stands for Internet Basics. And if you hover over the icon, it will tell you what it stands for. If we let's look at Jesse Morton here on top. If you see the a hexagon around the icon and it's in gray, that means that this person has passed that assessment and it was unproctored. If you see the hexagon around the icon and it's in color, that means that they've passed that assessment and it was proctored. So you can quickly get a glance at, okay, how is, you know, so-and-so doing? And these are all fake people in my demo account, just to let you know, other than me, who's real. If you want to see, let's say you're interested in how are people doing on internet basics across everyone, you can click on the internet basics icon in any person's row. It can either be someone who's passed the assessment or who hasn't passed the assessment, doesn't matter. But if you click on it, it will give you again a quick snapshot of how is this group of people doing on internet basics? What is their assessment score? How much of the self-directed online learning practice lessons have they done? So you kind of get a quick snapshot of a group. Here is where the tagging does, on all the reports, you can filter by tags. And on various reports, you can filter by other things like date as well. So if you look in the middle of my screen at the green rectangle, it says filter results. And if I clicked here, I can either filter by someone's name, look someone's name up, or by one of the tags I've created and assigned. So if I want to do it by the tags, I click again in this box where it says enter tags to match all. And let's say I was looking for everyone who is in my Friday morning class, only in my Friday morning class. And I apply the filter. And then you can see that it went from, 3 pages to 1 page of people. And now let's say I want to see everyone who's in my Friday morning class and who's taking the, let's see, advanced ESL class. So these people are both in my Friday morning class, and they're also taking an advanced ESL, English as a second language class. I apply the filter, and we would expect the list to be much smaller, and you can see that it's about half a page. If I wanted to see everyone who's either in my winter 2023 class, or in my, I don't know what else, or in my advanced online class. So this would, oh, sorry, I did that wrong. If I want to see everyone who is in my winter class or in my advanced class, I'm going to click on the plus or other tags here, this gray box, gray rectangle. And I'm going to put that other tag here. So now it will show me anyone who's either in the winter 2023 class or the advanced online class. And when I apply the filter, I'm going to see people who are in either one of those. No, they don't have to be in both. So that's a way you can use the tagging. So let's take a look at each individual too. So I'm going to type in my name. Oh, I guess you have to put in the last name too. And if I want to look more at this person, this specific person, I can just click on their name and it will take me back to that scorecard that we saw yesterday. The other reports you have available to you under the Learners tab. So we've been looking at View Learners, which is the default sub-tab here under Demo. I should also say that this report you can download into a spreadsheet over here on the left. There's another sub-tab called View Usage Amounts. And this is going to show you how much time people are spending on those practice lessons. And you as a library can decide if you want to break it out between when they're at the library and when they're using it from home or somewhere else. Or if you don't really care, you just want to know how much they're using it, you can lump it all together. So that's kind of a library-wide decision. But you can see that it shows you how much time people are spending in hours and minutes on the program, on the self-directed online learning. And then you can also download this as a spreadsheet as well. You can filter by tab, by tags, and by date. So under the Learner tab, it's, again, mostly specific to what our learners doing. Under the assessment tab, the reports you have here, you kind of saw, but you can look at, again, individuals report. You can look at everyone who's proctored and passed. You can modify the filters by quite a few options. If you only want to look at people who have taken basic computer skills, you can uncheck the boxes. You can do the date range, etc. And if you want to look at a specific person, you again would click on their name. We have a lot. Let's see, just put my name in. You can click on their name, and this will tell you more about this assessment. So if someone ever wants to see the results page, or you want to see the results page, you know, that they got after they took the assessment, you can do that. So it's up here in the upper right. You can always open up that results page. Here, if I had where it says status and says active, let's say I had accidentally left my proctor pin on a computer and someone took the assessment that wasn't really proctored. I can always change that by clicking on the invalidate, the gold invalidate button on the right. It would still keep their score and all the information. It would just change it from proctored to not proctored. Here it tells you, the standards they've mastered, any questions they got wrong. And here at the bottom where it says delete assessment. So let's say someone started taking an assessment on a library computer and they got maybe halfway through and they just left. And someone else came along and finished the assessment. Well, it's not a valid assessment, right? And so you can delete this from your records if that should happen here by clicking on the delete. And again, all this is stuff that most of the time you won't have to do, but you can find it in our resources. So any questions about the filtering or the using the tags or any of the, you probably don't have enough data to be running reports at this moment, but just know that in however many months when you want to look at that information, you can do that. So lastly, in our last couple of minutes here, and thank you I know this is a lot of me talking. Tomorrow will be much more fun where you all get to participate. It's my favorite of the 3 trainings, actually, where you'll get to be more instructors for a little bit as well as learners. So to round out today, I want to again go back to our resources tab and show you what's in here. So if we start at the upper left in the Northstar manual, this is pretty comprehensive and it's broken out by sections. So you can get an overview of the admin portal, what's in there, everything related to assessments, how to make the learner accounts so that people can use the online learning, the self-directed online learning, how to talk to people about the self-directed online learning and help them navigate it. Part 5 is for the Northstar administrators. Part 6 is all about the curriculum, the instructor-led curriculum. Part 7 is just, changing your own information. We do have a Northstar dictionary. And part 9 is where you'll find that code of conduct. So this is what it looks like, the test taker code of conduct. As you can see, it's pretty basic. People need to listen to instructions, treat each other with respect, be who they say they are, things like that. And then lastly, the last part, 10, talks all about where you can find all those reports I just told you. So the different places and what each contains. Then here, the FAQs are also arranged by kind of topic. So you have your general information, assessments, the curriculum, the online learning, and then different tasks that you might want to do. So a lot of what we've talked about today would be under these tasks. Oops. Underneath that in the lower left, this is talking about the self-directed online learning practice lessons. So there are a few videos that we've actually created for learners to walk them through their dashboard and how to use the practice lessons, but we wanted to make sure you had a place to find them too. And then there's a teacher guide if you want to incorporate the self-directed online learning into your lessons, and this kind of talks about that. In the middle, we have a quick start guide, which is arranged kind of nicely by your role. So if you're a staff person, here's a quick start guide for you. If you're doing proctoring, here's one for you. And if you're a Northstar administrator, here's a third one for you. And it goes through, short videos, maybe 1 to 2 minute videos, or directions with a screenshot to help you with those tasks. I'm going to, we looked at proctoring assessments already. I'm going to skip the other resources for the moment. The video tutorials are, if you prefer video, again, 1 to 3 minute videos on how to do these things. The curriculum we looked at. The Create support ticket is important. This is how you would reach us. So as Andrea said yesterday, if you have questions, you can initially go to her just because she knows what other libraries are doing. She wants to keep track of what kind of questions they're getting, or what kind of questions you're having, I should say, and kind of track all that down. Now, if something isn't working though, you might want to contact us. Like, let's say the page isn't loading or something seems to be wrong. You can contact us through the support ticket. It is basically an email that goes to the entire team, and then whoever is first available and best able to answer it will get back to you. So just remember that is there for you. And then lastly, these other resources are kind of a hodgepodge, as you might expect from the name. The first, again, goes through proctor training. So if you want to refresh your mind, if you are a proctor and you want to refresh your mind on how to proctor, you can do that. Here are all the standards in one place. So if you're not sure like where a skill would be taught, what topic a skill would be under, you can find all the standards listed here all together. We also have the codes of conduct here, same ones. And then there's the Northstar style guide. So if you want to put our logo on anything, feel free to do so. You don't have to ask our permission. Anything that's related to Northstar, you can put the Northstar logo on. If you want to use our color palette and font, you can, but you certainly don't have to. And then here, this talks all about remote learning and testing, kind of specifically if you're going to be doing that. I'm going to skip the external resources for the moment. But here we also have posters and flyers and back cards for you that you can use. It allows you to put in your library information, but it has like a picture and Northstar logo and some basic words on it. And then the screeners we will talk about tomorrow. External resources really quickly are other free websites that align to the Northstar standards for those 4 units that we don't currently have the self-directed practice lessons. So I know we're at the end of our time. I know it's been a lot of information. Again, don't worry if you don't remember all the details. It's more the big picture I want you to take into consideration and think about where you're going to start with Northstar. And then tomorrow we'll look at how to talk to the learners about Northstar. So I'm going to turn it back over to Andrea for any closing comments.
Thank you so much, Teresa. This was fabulous and a great tour of the admin portal and everything that you can do. So please come back tomorrow if you are able to. If not, as I said, everything is being recorded. Later on today, you'll get an email with the slides that Teresa will email me and the recording for today and yesterday. And I think that's about it. So thank you again, Teresa. Good luck with your other trainings today. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.